Hello, I'm Dani. Welcome to the channel. If you're brand new, I hope you're going to enjoy this episode. I really felt reflective of 2021 and I wanted to share with everyone some of the lessons or I guess takeaways from 2021. And in one way, social media has been good for so many people because it's created this community and you can find other like-minded individuals that don't make you feel so alone at times. And I wanted to just share some of these things because maybe you've been feeling the same way, or maybe this is something you learned or a lesson that you still need to learn. So I want to talk about a few things on this episode from my heart. This is very different from anything that I normally do, but I feel a connection to all of you out there that watch this channel consistently. So I just want to have a little conversation with you. So the first thing I want to talk about is differences and similarities in the idea of unity and divisiveness. And I know because I feel like it's become so prevalent nowadays, and in pageantry, people are always asking questions about this for onstage questions, about unity in the world, unity in the country. I feel like things have become more decisive, and I feel like social media has played such a key role. Because prior to social media, if you would have asked me which way my friends leaned politically or on social issues, I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have been able to tell you because, well, unless I had had a conversation with them in the past. And so what strikes me about this is we've all become really empowered to share our voices, but when somebody says something that doesn't align with how we feel about a certain cause or an issue, we suddenly feel this need to be defensive, to defend our position and to prove a point. And I felt like without social media, people weren't doing that. There was always this saying when I was growing up, especially when you meet people for the first time, never talk about politics or religion. And I feel like we've steered so far from that. And now I understand why I think that was such a good rule, because when we do that, we're talking about issues that can be really close and near and dear to our heart and to our values, and people get really passionate about those things. And then suddenly we're only seeing an individual for the stuff that they're passionate about, their personal views, which are their personal views. And we stop seeing them for who they are and their character and the person that we love. And so I guess my wish in 2022 is to, I guess also you be less defensive about my own views, and for others to always decide to choose love and choose grace when they do see an opinion that differs from them. Because I can't really think, when I see all these people fight on Instagram, for example, in comment sections, are you really changing somebody's opinion when you're shouting at them online? I'm not sure that many people's opinions have changed that way. And so I just don't think that any of us are taking this right approach when it comes to how can we have someone see something our way. And I feel like that could be a topic in itself. So we're going to kind of stop there on that. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. How do we get others to kind of be more understanding of ourselves, and what work do we have to put in? One cool thing I took away from 2021 was the ability to learn practical things. I started doing a lot of stuff for myself. I became motivated, and I think that comes when you don't have anybody there for you to help you, and so you're like, okay, it's either not going to get done or I'm going to do it. So I learned a few practical things, like changing the inner tube lining in my bike when it got a flat, and slowly learning how to upcycle furniture. And those are just, for me, some wins that made me feel pretty capable. This year I felt really fortunate because my coaching business and the channel has grown, and so with that you have to move on to that next step in business and preparing. And with the end of the year just happening and us being in this season, I've had to start making preparations for taxes and the day-to-day life things, and taking that year in review and going, okay, here's where I am now and here's the new goals that I have to set for myself financially for the next year, I think was pretty cool. So that's something I'm going to be focusing on. Also just sharing more about how I've grown my channel, how I've grown my business, and I'm looking for opportunities to create more opportunities for others in 2022. And one of the first ways I started this was by speaking at a women's mastermind that was coordinated by my sister Queen Tori, Miss Missouri USA 2018. And it was so cool because I had so much information that I didn't even have time to share, but I was able to share a lot of valuable pieces that can help other young women level up for themselves. And I've been able to do that because of personal experience. In 2021, I had a few brand collaborations, paid brand collaborations, and that's something that a lot of people who want to be influencers, that they want to work up to. And so I've learned a lot through that, and it was really cool to be able to share that with other young women. And I'm excited, like, what else am I going to be able to share and be impactful in 2022? I also learned a lot about the importance of prioritizing living. Obviously, during 2020, when a lot of stuff was shut down, a lot of us had time to refocus on our goals, and I definitely buried myself in my work. And during that time, I was in a relationship, and the relationship I was in was with someone that in my head looked so good on paper. Like, it all looked great, and that's what made me really want to put in effort and work towards building that relationship and seeing, where is this going to go? I got so mixed up in things looking so good on paper and like, this just sounds all so great and right, that I was missing out on living and life and enjoying life. And I felt like that was something that had been missing from my relationship, because I think that, you know, if you're going to be in a relationship with someone, you want to be okay doing the mundane things with them, the boring things with them, and you want to have joy in your everyday life. And I didn't have that. And I'm a big believer on taking accountability for your own joy and for your own happiness. So I wasn't looking for happiness in someone else, but there was something off with me because I thought, I don't know if I truly enjoy this person's company. And that is like a chemistry thing. That's like a connection thing. And I'm sure you understand that there are people that you really connect with and you're like, wow, like, I always have such a great time with them. It's like sparks are flying every time we hang out, whether you're dating somebody or whether it's a friend. And then there's those friendships where you're just like, oh my gosh, I feel drained and I can't wait to leave the situation. See you next year type of situation. I had to make a really hard decision, and instead of keep investing that time and hoping things would change, I was like, it kind of hasn't, and I have to ask myself what I really want. And it's important, and it's good to ask yourself what you're actually looking for in any situation, relationships, work, anything. And so I had to reevaluate and make a tough decision, and I wasn't sure of that decision, but I jumped and I leapt and I did it, and I do think it was the right decision. Another thing that was interesting to me was realizing that people who talk behind your back are exactly where they're supposed to be. They're behind you and you're ahead of them in some sense. And you have to be really careful with who you share your successes with, because even those closest to you are not always rooting for you. And that's something that I have learned, and I've had to. It's a really, really hard thing to take, because at least me, I have felt so lonely. I felt so lonely because you want to share your successes. You want to share when things you've been working for start getting accomplished. And then you do share those things with people around you, and you can tell they're not excited for you. And they, instead of encouraging you and saying, this is great, can't wait for that next step for you, they focus on any negatives, and they focus on things like, well, don't get ahead of they're saying, don't get ahead of yourself. You got to be more cautious. Things might not work out like this next time. And you hear these different types of things, and you realize that people aren't rooting for you. And these could be the people that you are closest with. Like, that's what's amazing to me. I just feel like I learned a lot about saving my goals and my dreams for me, and I think in 2022 really keeping those closer to my heart, because I saw something, and I'll probably repost it at some point, and Steve Harvey was talking about when you share your goals with other people, the goals aren't for them, they're for you. And when God shows you this goal and this dream and this thing that you're working for, this thing that gives you hope, the reason that somebody else might not understand that or be on that same level with you is because it's not theirs. God didn't show that to them, he showed that to you. And so that's why it's not always the best timing to share with someone the things that you're currently working on before you've achieved them. And that's something I feel like, take into 2022. The other thing I realized was that distance doesn't always matter when you prioritize relationships. And I had so many wonderful experiences in 2021 with new friends or friends that I reconnected with. And it didn't feel like there was any time at all between the last time I had seen them, whether I hadn't seen them in a year or 6 months or whatever it was. But I realized the importance of prioritizing those types of relationships in your life because they are the most fulfilling, because for me at least, they do bring you the much joy, connecting with the people that get you. And so that's something I want to take into 2022, continuing to prioritize the people that mean so much to me, regardless of time, distance, or space, right? Regardless of all of those things. And it was just, I don't know, I just felt like those moments made my year, and they were beautiful, and I'm leaving them in 2021, some of them, and I can't wait to see the new ones that come from 2022. The last thing I want to touch on, because it's really been on my heart, is I feel like certain things are revealed to you at certain times in life. Like it's like you go through life at many times with these blinders on, and then suddenly the blinders come off and you're like, wow, I'm starting to see something for what it is, or in a different way, or in a new way. And I had so many of those moments this year where the curtain was pulled back for me for other people's lives, and for people who maybe I didn't have that much patience with, or that understanding with, or grace with, or even kindness with. And it really drove home that point that you don't know what somebody's going through, unless they're telling you and sharing that with you. There's not always that opportunity though, when stuff is deep, when stuff is heavy and going on in your life. It's not always something that can be brought up like that, or with just anyone. You know, it has to be with people that you feel like you're in a safe space with, that you can share with. And I just feel like I'm developing this true sense of empathy for others, because like I said, the curtain has been pulled back, and I'm seeing like what struggles they're going on with, whether they voice that to me one-on-one, or whether I learn about it from something else. And I'm just like, gosh, I feel for you. Like, I feel for you. I've been where you've been. And I don't want to make things harder on you than they have to be, because I already know that you're really struggling with something. And I'm not saying that everybody has that going on in their life, but I think that everybody does have those moments in life where you're really struggling with something, and then, you know, the smallest thing could just make it all seem so much worse, or make you feel like you don't want to keep pushing forward or move on with your goals and your dreams, or with anything, or even move on with life. And so that is something that really, I don't know, my heart has been so touched by this year, is providing so much grace, and really taking time when you feel hurt about something to ask yourself, am I feeling hurt about this thing because I'm triggered by it? Am I feeling hurt by this thing from someone else because that person's intention was to inflict harm on me? Or am I creating my own interpretation for the situation without first talking to another person about how they're feeling and what their intentions were, or what's going on in their life? They always say hurt people, and I got to see that this year a lot. I got to see a lot of people who weren't that kind to me, that at first you feel bad and you want to make that person out to be a villain. And then I dug deeper, and I started seeing what was going on in those people's lives, and realizing that their lives weren't so great, and that they were hurting, and that they were suffering, and that because of that, it's shaping the way that they respond to everybody around them, and that it might not just be me, or they may not be purposely attacking me or trying to inflict harm, but that could be how I'm experiencing it. And you really need to take a look at that bigger picture. So there's a lot there, guys. There's a lot, and these are the main things that I was taking away. Let me know what important lessons you learned though. Leave that in the comments. I think these conversations are great, and maybe this episode has caused you to reflect, and it's just something that I hope you will enjoy. I hope maybe it brings you joy, or a sense that somebody else gets you and understands you and knows where you've been. That's it. So I made this episode for you. In closing, Happy New Year. I hope it's blessed and prosperous and filled with lots of love from those ones around you that you are closest to. Thank you for the support that you gave this channel in 2021, if that's how long you've been around, or if you've been around longer, and I appreciate that continued support in 2022.